I love it already. What a great way to wake up with the Kurt Hustle Collective here. Welcome back, everyone. Artist Journal, January 14th, 2025, broadcasting from the inner half of the nervous system in Berlin, Germany. One man, a phone microphone, actually a decent microphone here, a computer, and as Bob Dylan would say, and the truth. So I say. Look at this. National Hustle graphic. Let me get the audio. On. So I'm going to try and run through this show. I have a lot to do today. I have to do another show. And then tomorrow's 2 shows. So let's see what happens. Hilarious, though. Let me get some volume here for you. I love these guys. Kurt Hustle Collective.
Lurking in the depths of the ocean, off the shore of Sector 9, we find the beautifully rare and bizarre Kurtok crab. Out for its daily hunt routine across the ocean floor, the Kurtok crab scavenges for lost ornaments from the world above and vulnerable prey for a quick snack before quickly scuttling back to its undisclosed crustacean nation between the rocks.
Its undisclosed crustacean nation beneath the rocks. Anyways, hard not to love these guys. True classics. Here. Modern day classics. Courtesy, like, I was actually referring to the people. Terry Visual and JNK. And let me just, I always love to go back here. Wonderful. How many works? 615 works here on Object on the Tezos blockchain. I always like to go through a few highlights here of some of these classics of the blockchain. You see how their early works, I mean, this is kind of classic. This is their first work, 1800 Tezos. Someone accepted an offer for Howdy Do. This is how Howdy Do does it. Notorious flipper on the Object on Tezos here. Let me show you. I think last time we went through Kurt Hustle, I showed you A6 Puma, which is pretty darn rad. Here's some pagers, right? Retro tech, and of course these awesome puppets. This might be another for our edification here.
Please hold the line.
Just gotta randomly go. No, it's not in the Tashin book.
You have dialed A6 International. Please hold the line.
Really good music.
Your number is on the list. Please unlock your door. We will come in after the tone.
Just so cool. So cool. Welcome to Tezos and Object, should you be new to this show. And welcome to the wonderful world, this visual international underground of digital art. And don't worry, we will continue in future shows to go through the treasures of these wonderful artists on all of the blockchains. We are self-declared multi-chain, multimedia, multi-platform. Over here on this program. So coming up tomorrow, Victor Acevedo on the evolution of digital art. So we had Victor on last time, and it was such a rich conversation. I was thrilled. Actually, I had forgotten this yesterday. I went to my schedule and I saw, we have Victor scheduled for Wednesday. So that we scheduled in December. So thrilled that we have Victor back. It was an awesome conversation last time. Again, going to these kind of, pioneers, people really, I'd say from the first generation of digital art, is very informative. I kind of grew up, when in the 90s, so to speak. I was born in 1979. And so I kind of bridged the gap in my, at least in my own mind. I can bridge the gap. I remember discussing with Victor last space we did. How big of a deal was it when Photoshop kind of became a thing? Because I remember it being a big thing. Again, my dad got Photoshop way back in the day, and it was a tricky program. And so, of course, Victor, and how did that kind of change things? And so, someone who's been making art for a long time and who has seen the changes. So there's a lot to learn. Just like Dr. Bill, we learned a ton as well. So looking forward, Victor has some new works on Tezos, so we'll discuss those too and everything. So that is coming up tomorrow, Wednesday. So thrilled about that. And afterwards, so I guess I'll do 5 shows in the next today and tomorrow. It's too much. It's too much. So, and I need to read this. A discussion of Piet Mondrian's neoplasticism. The general principle of plastic equivalence. You know what's interesting? So One of One has been doing this very fun series that I'm happy to be a part of, this monthly series, where we've been looking at manifestos. And what's interesting is how incoherent, I would argue, many of these manifestos are. I found the Manifesto of Futurism surprisingly, there is coherence that you can gather, but I found it surprisingly obscure. Maybe it's unsurprising that the Data Manifesto is going to be kind of incoherent in many places. The Surrealist Manifesto in many places, and Manifestos by André Breton are surprisingly incoherent. And, especially with surrealism, you see the importance of someone like Ballard, who I'd call the great kind of synthesizer of surrealism. At the back of one of the novels, was it Supercan? He was described as the last. It was like some newspaper described J.G. Ballard as the last of the, I think, classic surrealists, is how they put it, and kind of beautifully. And he was the great explainer of surrealism, because he brought clarity to the whole surrealist project, I would argue, and I would argue even added. He actually took all these ideas, and then he kind of formulated, I would argue, a philosophy of sorts, which we see quite explicitly in the essays of, say, the French introduction to Crash in particular, quite long. And if you go to Research 8.9 from V. Vale, shout out to V. Vale out there, who has a nice kind of blossoming Instagram account. The Research Publications, they also have many good interviews. And there's also a book of essays that was put out by kind of a major publisher there. All to say, should be interesting. Nice excuse, because otherwise I kind of need an excuse to read Piet Mondrian's Neoplasticism. Who reads this stuff? So come tune in, read it ahead of time, and tune in. They're pretty informal, so if you have something to say, if you've read it, by all means, join us on stage. It'll probably be a welcome addition. Comment/show. Isn't that fun, that you can do that? The beauty of this internet and the internet communities. Comment/show. I've learned a lot about, so our friend, I don't know if this is Korean. It almost looks Korean to me, but I'm not an expert in this, so apologies in advance. I've learned a lot about today's events and interesting works through the video. Thank you for your work. Thank you, and you're very welcome. Thank you for the comment. Illusion T Soul, not a fan of the critique bots. Very hollow. Right, and we're having some fun discussing the critique bots, the AI art critique bots. I think there needs to be a focus in shows, especially art shows, about how digital art is conveyed, frames that better exemplify the feeling of digital works, custom frame screens, not a widescreen TV. Yeah, and we're discussing this. In a sense, this principle, one could argue, following this conversation I had with a friend over the weekend on how would you do a digital art show? That was asked to me, and so I had to think, and I started with RGB, and kind of through our conversation, where we got to was rather than you starting with the work and then seeing what best way would be to present the work, rather than trying to fit it into a 16:9 and you have a square work, something we've all seen, right? So I think that would be the operating principle, philosophy, however you want to describe it. Rooms that best express the actual movement in color. So thank you, Illusion T Soul, for the comments. Also on X, thank you for the response. Lena Gordiva, love this one. Great to hear. I love how people are enjoying, because they're actually a lot faster preparation, but I'm not sure. Again, it's like sometimes I was talking about this before I did this. It could make a better show. So anyways, just to get positive feedback is great to hear. So thank you, Lena. Great to hear from you. Gogolitis. So our wonderful artist, as well as Armilk, who they collaborated on this really wonderful work that got a lot of positive feedback here. Regarding the idea of indexing ETH NFTs on Object raised by Yuri J. I believe many of us are eager to see this happen. Personally, I would love it. It's not that other platforms are bad, it's just that Object.com stands out as better. That doesn't mean Object is perfect, of course, but it's undeniably the best marketplace for artists in so many ways. I am beautifully put. I imagine there must be significant technical challenges preventing the integration of other blockchains on Object. Yeah, I imagine as well. Easy to kind of put in the request. Otherwise, it would have happened by now. Different blockchains likely come with unique constraints, and these technical differences probably require substantial adaptation for seamless integration. I'm not entirely sure, but I'd really love to understand the reasons behind this. Yeah. But it's interesting, right? Because, there is a sense, should Object do something with rodeo growing in popularity? As they say, like a good defense is a good offense, right? So were they to be like, okay, we got to do something after fixing notifications, which are still the main issue there, and their highlight, what makes them a great platform, I'd argue, and what made them stand out were the notifications. So they really have to fix that. I've done a demo in the past of the issue. It resets when you click on a work in the notifications, if anybody at Object doesn't know. But if you want to go on offense, so to speak, that's how I would do it. I'd be like, oh, look, we have ETH. And then that's a problem for, I would argue, Magic Eden. Right, who is the dominant kind of, NFT, digital art, a digital object platform, right? So it sounds like there's, Gogo is echoing the sentiment, it seems. At 4110, when you're looking for the date on the Foundation page, it really highlights the user interface issues or UI issues. It's so unclear. It was surprising to me as well, Gogo, that the date was not clearly apparent. I mean, the big sell on art on the blockchain is provenance and proof. And if you don't have a date I'm sure there's a date somewhere. But the fact that it's kind of not like obvious, to your point, is just makes you wonder. Just imagine that Foundation doesn't even offer a dark mode. Meaning you're forced to showcase your work, and this could have really changed, and like dark mode's probably a pretty easy thing to implement, I imagine. Meaning you're forced to showcase your work and see everything on a white background. What on earth are they thinking? This could have been the most low-hanging fruit, as well as just, they had notifications, but they were, but ETH, for whatever reason, they did have notifications, I think. And they even had emails that would be sent out if an artist minted a work, but dark mode was another, imagine if Foundation had dark mode. Interesting. Thanks for the comments, Gogo. We have another one. Peter the Roman, another great show, AI bots equal efficient word salad spinners. Yeah, and you know what I thought to myself afterwards? It was Shakespeare. A tale told by an idiot signifying nothing, right? I mean, what is that? Is that Macbeth? There's a famous, I think it's Macbeth, a tale told by an idiot signifying nothing. Exactly, because it's where Faulkner, The Sound and the Fury, I believe, was inspired by that speech, and I believe it's in Macbeth. So a tale told by an idiot signifying nothing. Thank you for the comment, Peter. Gogolitis. Although I laughed so much when you commented on the part with Ruskin AI, absolutely hilarious. Glad to hear. I'm glad you're enjoying it, my friend. And thank you for the comments. Uxine. So this is interesting. So we're looking at Ai Weiwei doing pixel art. And look, he's making it physical. How interesting. I think these are the stencil films printed for the yellow layer on that print sitting behind that person. So doing a little sleuthing here, Uxine is looking at this and seeing that is, let's see, I think these are the stencil. So this is a stencil maybe. But I see, you might be right. It's an interesting question, but I see this 3D-edness. So, okay, let's see what Uxine says here. I think these are the stencil films printed for the yellow layer on that print sitting behind that person. Right, so for this print, the stenciled yellow, it could be a different type of a printer because the print looks incredibly sharp, bold, and black. Sharp observation, my friend. It does look like a different kind of printer. I mean, this looks like some sort of metal print, like embossed, like almost like a stamp, so to speak, or, something you press, right? And then you roll it over. Because another way of looking at it, because you may be right. Maybe this is a stencil where the paint goes through and the yellow, say like the mouth here, well, that would be black. And so the yellow would be, I guess, the dark part here. Is that correct? Let's look. So here you see a little bit of the reptile. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, so I'm still confused. You might be right on that, Uxine. So we see the eye, but the eye is red. But maybe, yeah. So it's because it gets the red, so it's hard to tell which is which here. When I see the embossing, though, over here, like you see, it's almost 3D. It makes me think this is black that is on, or that the ink is put on the black. So is it a stencil or is it a kind of stamp of sorts? I guess is the question here. I guess we'll leave it open. There are videos. Maybe I'll try and track down the videos because there are promotional videos I saw on Instagram of this process being done. But to Uxine's point, it does seem to be a different type of printer, and it does look incredibly sharp, bold, and black. It does look very black, like it. That could also be the screen. You see how they have a mechanical screen printer process? This isn't two people, like pushing this across, right? So it's interesting. It does make me think, though, should I want to do screen prints? Like I've tried doing this myself. I should just hire someone. If it's good enough for Ai Weiwei, surely it's good enough for me, right? To me, that's almost the moral of the story, and they can make it however they want. As long as it's a screen print, cool. Right? And the registration. I mean, Uxine has done screen printing on his own. He knows what I'm talking about. Like, it's not easy. We see the highlights, right? There's just a lot to incorporate into the process. Continuing on. So the talk on rodeo here. So referring to putting works on rodeo, here's the myth. People don't seem to understand the situation in South America. Here there is hunger, my friend. I am an OG of Tezos, and that is true. Sometimes referred to as the king of Tezos. But if I see that I have no sales and I have to support a family, I will try by all means to generate income. And this is the key word here. Everything works. I hope someday they will understand. This is why I've always said, no judgment. And artists should be, in a sense, we should be happy to make anything. At the same time, I've voiced my reservations many times here, and I haven't minted. But maybe I don't have the urgent, family concerns of having to feed a family. And I maybe don't have other employment, and I am an artist, right? If that were the case, I would probably have an all-of-the-above strategy, which I've advocated in the past, saying, great, Tezos, you want to give me some money? I'll keep putting works on Tezos, and Myth is continuing to put works. And I will also put works here on Rodeo and just try and accumulate as much money as possible. I guess the question is that I have is we have let's say 3 times 4, so 13 works here, and they've brought in $472. The question that I have is, would the Myth have made more money on Tezos or on Rodeo? And I think some of these works are pretty nice, like this one. And I'm not convinced that the Myth wouldn't have made more money with these works on, even like he's gotten like $125, as far as I remember, for works, some of these kind of pop culture works. So, yeah, it's an interesting question. So the Myth is just doing the best he can. And big shout out to the Myth, the wonderful, wonderful artist, important artist out of Argentina. who I had the great pleasure to meet. So, yeah, so interesting. So everybody comes with a different situation, right? Continuing on, woman NFT. The reality is, referring to rodeo and everything, the reality is no platform or app design will get you discovered. Your consistency and making real connections with people will get you discovered. Keep talking to people, networking, and making those genuine connections. Keep putting in the work on your craft. These are very wise words, in my opinion. I couldn't agree more. As an artist, I was kind of mentioning this with, say, like, make X your kind of default platform and you don't need to worry about anything. You can mint on Manifold, not sign any terms or conditions as far as I understand. Put your work on ordinals. Don't even use Gamma with no terms. And you could actually be completely independent, not sign away anything, and give anybody rights to anything. And so this is, work on your art, and great art will get discovered. As the great David Hickey, now passed, referring to Robert Rauschenberg, said, undeniable is undenied, right? And so totally agree with Woman NFT. More metrics here. So Kayvon, who is behind Rodeo, we've grown substantially over the last couple of weeks. Our priority right now is ensuring the UX stays top notch. What needs to be working better? And so showing this chart, but I've kind of been talking to people. I'm like, it kind of felt like it peaked out last week, right? So I think this is going to be a very interesting chart to watch. In terms of like the sentiment, if I had to I don't have any quantitative data, but it felt like from a sentiment point of view, I felt like the sugar high, so to speak, was kind of at max about a week ago when artists were like, I have to be on there. The FOMO, I don't think is there anymore. I would argue, but let's see. We have more, I'm trying to keep this as objective as possible here. Because we see Yoa In, wonderful AI artist. Great to see them back on the scene. Doing very well here with 5 works at $1,348. So it depends on how, much your work resonates as well with the crowd. Over 5,000 followers from 2 weeks of using Rodeo. I mean, that's pretty good. And over 2,700 editions sold. But the most important thing is the artists I'm discovering every single day. We'll definitely start doing some threads in the upcoming days on shining some light on super dope art that I've discovered and minted. Another metric I'm using is how many Rodeo tabs I have up here, and they are starting to, there is a point where they were half, about a week and a half ago. They are declining in terms of my curation for what that's worth, but I find that interesting personally. So anyways, let's continue. So here's someone who's doing fabulously, 5,000 followers. Yoa In, a wonderful artist. We're going to look at those works later. TheFunnyGuys.eth for the Rodeo.club is bad for digital art crowd. The world will only care about your ultra scarce digital artworks when digital ownership is abundant. If you have a better vision to get there, please elaborate. And I think the world will only care about your ultra scarce digital artworks when digital, I think they mean ubiquitous, because abundant seems to mean, maybe it means, I guess you could say, but abundant means that it's everywhere and everything's positive. I think they just mean it is everywhere. So all to say, I'm not sure I agree with the thesis here. If you have a better vision to get there, please elaborate. What I would say is the reason we have so much good art on the blockchain is we have a free market. And that is the real, like what I call the beating heart of the scene. And so, so I'd argue certain mechanics in Rodeo and forcing artists to sell at a cheap level, I would say perhaps undermines the free market to a certain degree. People, however, to be fair, people are going there voluntarily, so it's still free. They're using the platform, but you don't have pricing power. And so, so it's interesting. I'm not sure I agree. To me, I'm not even sure it's related. We put it this way. I'm not worried about the value of the art. I think that'll happen in time by itself. I'm concerned about the quality of the art. And I think we've been doing fabulously. the last 2 years. I don't think we need everybody, anybody and everybody. I think that's what will bring the masses, not a crypto-centric and focused, art platform, copy of Instagram. I just don't, so let's see. I may be totally wrong, but I'm not sure the masses are going to jump on here. Let's continue. Beanie. If you care about your JPEG bags, you'll stop using the NFT term. Nobody is buying anything with that word in it. Like we've been talking about this for months, actually, how it's kind of going out of style as a term. Like, it's not something you love to tell people, I'm an NFT artist. It means, like, for a lot of the world, that means, you're a bad artist. Okay, that's what they think. They go, oh, you're an amateur. That is the translation that often happens, to Beanie's point here, which we've been discussing here. Exception being airdrop speculators. Now, however, but the technology remains revolutionary with real utility, in art, DeFi, gaming, and RWA, real-world applications, maybe. It's the over-encompassing digital asset. So yeah, I call them digital objects. It'll be interesting to see. Another kind of interesting kind of mini debate there. Pinstake, so selling this work that we were looking at yesterday, went to Neon Monk, I think, for 500 Tezos, right? And so what is that? Like, if we said Tezos is $1.20, and I think it's even more, $1.20, that would be like $6.50. I mean, I guess we could look, but do we have a link? No, we don't. I didn't realize that was Bart Simpson, hilariously. But all to say, like, in one work, Pinstake, if that is waffles, made more than half of what he made on Rodeo in one work, right? So just showing, like, so it's just interesting. Like, if we look at purely from a dollars and cents point of view, it's a very open debate where it's better to put your art, is basically the moral of the story, I would argue. Bosque Gracias, GM from the first 2025 art residency. So here at the wonderful people at Bosque Gracias in Argentina, in I think Patagonia, getting together and doing a workshop, an art residency. So very cool to see wonderful people. Element Lee with some more super interesting digital and physical part of this debate we are having. And look at this. That even looks like canvas that has been introduced into, that is canvas, that has been introduced into this as and even the crop of the canvas, cutting it out and then splitting up the paper here that has been printed on with Element Lee's digital art. And there you see a little pixel. This is quite, and even the blank, ripped pieces of paper, super interesting, digits, and it looks like a hand, interestingly, and of course punning with digital, very interesting. Jean Provencher, so this is pretty interesting too, quite beautiful. Here, showing different kinds of, I guess you'd call it compression, with a rasterization at different, higher and lower resolutions, and then juxtaposing them all and adding two colors, basically, or in two colors. Super beautiful work here. As you can see, let's continue. I have some other works by Jean Provencher. So has always done some kind of interesting kind of digital filtering, I guess is one way of kind of describing what he's doing. Here's another one that was on Verse. This was actually put on Bitcoin. I was going through his feed, and here's just a very cool series on Bitcoin. As I say, I'm pretty sure this is on Bitcoin. Details, blockchain Bitcoin. Just as I was saying, 2 colors plus pixel art equals Bitcoin. Right? And so these are probably very small files. I don't know if they have the file size. That would have been cool. I'm not sure what these sold for. This was done back in 6 months ago. I think it was June. So, and as you see here, kind of a similar idea. Very conceptual, but aesthetic at the same time, Jean Provencher's work. We see the Mona Lisa, at full rasterization here, or full compression, and then here at less. And so all these different versions, all in 2 colors. Brilliant and beautiful. Cool title, too. I believe the series was called Test. And here's one more. So again, playing with these different digital outputs here. This one's a blue and white, and just a different kind of, output. Continuing on, a frame-by-frame depiction of my winter routine. So here, Gio Mariani still posting on X wonderfully. I'm not sure if Gio is minting on right now, but put out a few works about 6 weeks ago. That was great to see. So just beautiful pixel artist. Here is RJ on X, and so we saw, I think, the January work. Here is Early Dusk. So more beautiful landscapes here from RJ, using AI and different kind of filtering and selecting and everything. Nice, not too many colors, interestingly, nicely. So yeah, cool there. Here is Kai Lodzi, who I think I've shown a long time ago. And here is a kind of a Mickey, almost looks, what is this? Is this AI? Is this processing? I think we have details, quite interesting textures here. Kind of rough pixelation. Almost looks like a Mickey character. Flux and Kailodzi, low rank adaption, digital manipulation, magnific upscaler color correction. 3400 by 5000. Very interesting. So kind of reminiscent, isn't it, of the textures we see in Stable Diffusion. I don't see any mention of AI, though, so interesting work there. I was very pleased to see Groove Streets is back. I'm a genius. I'm an MF genius. Awesome artist. Sad to see them disappear about a year and a half ago. Just a rad artist. I think I brought up their page here. Like, if you go to some of their, you don't even need to go far. Some of these, this was an absolute classic. Let's see if it opens. You better lock me up because otherwise you're dead. Just cool, really cool kind of, younger generation digital art, really. Just really kind of fun works here. Still available. As you see, I own a lot of these. Just really awesome artist here. Let's see if we can find... They put out a few works on FX Hash. This was a classic. So, yeah. Just love this artist. Really cool. Great to see Groove Streets back. Let's continue. I think I discovered Groove Streets from Kurt Hustle Collective's collection, as a matter of fact. The Myth, The Path of Resistance. So here's a work, open edition on Object from The Myth here. And so interesting piece, and looks like Procreate, doesn't it? And again, almost this kind of Salvador Dali-like autobiographical works where you show a small version of yourself in the painting, maybe. And of course, trademark green and pink. And then, of course, these myth colors here, and the figure made up of those three colors walking close to this path on this beautiful landscape here. How many minted here? 118 minted, and they're doing it at 0.3 Tez. Okay. Continuing on. Polo Bear by The Myth. Now, I thought we saw, was it here? So Polo... So here, it looks like we have a little bit. Is this minted or it was burned? Okay, I thought we had a bit of an experiment here. So 128 minted on Rodeo, interestingly. So was going to put it on Object and decided for Rodeo, interestingly. So here, another kind of a fun work, kind of goes well with those other works on Rodeo that Myth put out, so maybe it makes sense. Continuing on, Rinny Fish, Submerged Whisper. Let's see if we have any volume here. Cool and fun. Rinny Fish, I believe this is on Object, and little fun monsters here. Submerged Whisper, edition of 1. This put on Fake Whale Art Market and not listed yet. Continuing on, Walk. Beautiful work here called Flower. So a little bit of nature here that disintegrates into the digital noise in Walk's beautiful trademark style. This is an edition of 1 and selling again for quite cheap here, putting out a work I think every day at least on Object. And so getting 6 Tezos, continuing on. Zozo with a cool work here. A look from the sewer can be a view of the world. I don't think we've seen this. So, cool work here. And what else is interesting here, and quite a few gone here. 2, 4, 6, 8 gone of 15. So already bringing in $80. And also putting in, interestingly, there was a tweet about it. I should have found the tweet that Zozo put out. Maybe we can find it very quickly. I need to keep this show short, but I think Zozo... Here we go. Let's look here. When working on a piece, I like to think of it as composition aspect as well as its narrative aspect. For this work, I created some non-animated pieces to emphasize the compositional aspect of the work. Okay, so there you go. So here are some of the works. So almost like stills, seemingly stills from the work. And this sold for 20 Tezos, edition of 1. So here's a composition number 2 taken from this work. And also an edition of 1 selling for 20 Tezos. And this work selling for 20 Tezos. Also. So interesting move, selling basically what seemed, different compositions out of that original composition here. So very cool innovation there. Let's look at 407 Atelier. So nice kind of design piece on illustration on Rodeo, 119 minted, so about $20, shall we call it. And nice kind of background here. Nice color, great color there. And here is Perfect Loop, City Runner. Running a city is hard work. And we looked at an earlier version of this on Objects. So here it is, slowing it down a bit. And we see almost the SimCity type of landscape, which has been masked with a running person. Quite cool there. And who is the artist again? That is Perfect Loop. And I think that sold, just a ton of offers coming in here, pretty high. 61 Tezos. So $75 for this edition of 15. So a lot of excitement there. OXBCD, I'm not sure if they mint their work, Blockchain's creative director, but I thought this was a really nice piece. I thought this was an interesting piece. Just of all of these, kind of visually interesting of all of these tabs of web browsers. As we continue here, Slava 3. 1-bit chaos, and this is on Rodeo, 30 minted, so about maybe $5, $5.50. Nice piece here with different kind of renderings, as you can see, of this kind of pixelated cube. Here's another work, Francois Gamma and Masque. This is an edition of 10 on Object, and let's see what is going on. And so, collaboration, interestingly. Not sure where the collab is because it's very kind of Francois Gamma, but with Masque as well. And so one transferred, so none sold yet, but I don't think it's been listed. So unlisted so far. It'll be interesting to see how they do in relation to their sales on Rodeo. Right-click dead or brain dead, drop.gif. This got 269. So maybe $40 if I had to guess, $45. And here, pixel artwork. This is on Rodeo. And here, as you see, fun work. So doing quite well, $45. Pretty good. Liquorex Big Bug Spray. And this is, you probably got about $8, $9, $10. And interesting artist. This is a discovery from Rodeo and who plays with these kind of big pixels here. And I love it, actually. And you see it in the spray can, kind of, using the big pixels, going, how would we put it? Outside the edges here, filling in these kind of square areas here. Anyways, interesting work. Here's Manidal, Perfect Time, also doing well. 288 minted times 17 cents. Maybe close to $55 if I had to guess, so pretty good. So pixel art, especially, it could just be, certain works. If you can sell a lot, you can do well. as we saw with, say, E-Boy. Interesting colors here, green and pink. Two colors. And let's continue here. This was interesting. 52 minted so far, 5 hours to go. This is Carlo SPX S Simulacra handheld Model R. And let's see if we can take a closer look at this. Kind of looks like a Game Boy. Game Boy Colors, at least. And then we have a screen, kind of mostly pixel art, I guess we could say. I guess it's all pixel art. And kind of looks like a, modified Game Boy and someone fishing in here. Interesting piece. Interesting artist to discover. Here's E-Boy times Lufthansa, the airline and so here on Instagram, putting out a work. So very interesting. We see it in Japan with Starbucks and these other companies reaching out almost to people they probably find on Instagram, to pixel artists, also to some of these other, Japanese artists. Here we see E-Boy with Lufthansa, and there is a little plane, of course, an airline, German airline. Here's a work by Walk. This is on Rodeo. Let's see how this is doing. Playing with, so the Pirate Bay pixelated out, interesting concept. So edition of 15. And so about $2. Cool work. I like this series. Cool concept, as usual, from Walk. Here is Luis Andre Gama, Spilled. I thought a nice piece here. This is an open edition on Object. Interesting piece. Here, just kind of an animated abstract with some processing. Spilled. Generative art made with Touch Designer. There you go. Also, Tezos, VHS Stream number 218. And this is an edition of 7, 2 gone. And here we go. So again, playing with nature and analog video processing and glitch. We had a great space with Tezos a few weeks ago in December. Here's Daily Plexus, this is Score in a series called Daily Plexus for Yellow Catalia. And here, as you see, a video by Score, who also uses Touch Designer and also 3D scanning and everything. So interesting piece there. I believe Score's out of Japan, if I'm not mistaken. Scaniverse. 3D Scaniverse is the 3D scanner. So super interesting work there. I think unlisted, just minted. As we continue here, Fishers. So this is by Yoain, 382. So again, Yoain has been doing very well. 8,000 by 8,000. It's a beautiful series. It reminds me that, again, white or kind of off-white can have quite a powerful color, is what it reminds me of. Interesting, almost like a frame here in this kind of margin of sorts. And then up close, you see this kind of painterly, drippy AI artwork. And I believe this is raw AI, but I'm not positive. So really cool work by Yoain. Here is Scomra, GM. So again, hyper-textured AI artwork here. Here is Mikey Wilson on Object, FTDB, Fixin' to Die Blues, also open edition. And here, as you can see, AI artwork when you zoom in close. Again, great color, amazing orange, great color in this piece. Edition of 33, or open edition, still available. Here's Strange Thing. With kind of a different work, it almost looks like, a different century than we're used to with Strange Thing. And here a big Facebook like as a almost cinder block that is weighing down on this modernly dressed figure here with the like. So GM Art Family, cool work here, doing quite well on socials, on X. Interesting work here by Alexandra King Afeketi on Instagram. AI art, I believe. Throwback to classics where Michelangelo's Pieta meets street style. Fashion isn't what we wear. So I'm not sure. This could just be photography. I'm not positive that but it could be AI. It kind of looks like AI. And I know Alexandra makes a lot of AI. So interesting piece there. Of course, Michelangelo's Pieta, the inspiration. And here is Little Cakes. Forever Mood, as you see here. So cool AI artwork. Interesting where the doll fuses with the person. And as you see here, start to see the AI distortions up close with almost a wand of light there. So cool work there. Nice big open gray background. An open edition, 7 minted so far on Tezos. Here is No Hygiene, of course. The angel is now on the meat, and we see some of the cats in this strange cake of sorts of meat. So it keeps getting weirder with No Hygiene wonderfully. Here's Hisami Tanaka, and this is one of the most interesting works. Could have almost started the show with this, because this looks painted, doesn't it? And so what are they doing? They are referencing digital painting in a physical work. So to our conversation here, and for people that have actually done a lot of digital work, they will recognize, right, a lot of these kind of marks, so to speak. So these have been emulated in digital. And as I've kind of long said, the way to make, oil painting or painting in general, remain relevant is to incorporate digital iconography, vocabulary of the digital world, and then it's kind of made new. I would argue that's an example. This is an example of that. This is super interesting. Gulorama, War with the Evil Power Master. Really cool painting here. Acrylic on canvas, 12 inches by 16 inches. Really nicely painted here. I bet doing 587 likes, doing quite well. Let's see how many followers this person has. 50,000, almost 51,000 followers. Pretty impressive. Here's another one by them, 406 likes. It's from mid-December. So just an interesting kind of work here. Almost looks like a gremlin or something. So interesting artists on Instagram. Here is Cameron Spratley in a prologue for Chicago. So Cameron Spratley, Wild and Wonderful White Jazz, 2024, De Boer Gallery. So another interesting work here found on Instagram. Part of a larger show, as you can see here. And continuing on, Austin Ansbro, Pink Panther, and Felix the Cat. So I'm pretty sure we've seen this artist before. Wonderfully kind of dirty, or at least like the, it's not pure paper. You can see the rubbing, so to speak, underneath this work. You almost wonder if they did that first. It's almost like charcoal. Drawings on beige paper, 11 by 17 inches. Beautiful work here, as you can see. Also, Alien versus Playtime, acrylic on canvas. Of course, I've made Lego paintings in the past. Here you have Lego Spaceman and interesting, looks like an airbrushed alien juxtaposed. I think that's one piece. So pretty wild work, all artwork for sale, DM for a commission. So Lego Maniac 1256, interesting. Yes, I have old Lego paintings, very kind of similar in spirit to that. Die with the Most Likes. Someday we resented the turn of the lighthouse and the things it showed us. So Die with the Most Likes with another cool painting here, this time in black and white. Continuing to, just a work. That's what Die with the Most Likes is really good at, is working. And something to inspire us all here. And finally, nice work here, inspired by the fires in LA. Our hearts are broken for the beloved city of LA and all our family and friends, artists and colleagues. This loss is beyond comprehension at this point. It really is hard to comprehend. Please be safe and take care of yourselves and your loved ones. So beautiful work here as a kind of homage to what's happening in LA. Of course, the logo of the LA Dodgers. And that is your show, my friends. Thank you for joining me. Hope to see you at Victor Aceveto's space tomorrow. Until next time, take care.